I have an idea. And that's the intro. Very excited. As always, we'll see if this works while I film it, because why not? But I have an idea, and I'm 95% sure it's gonna work. So fingers crossed, and let's jump into it. Okay, so the plan or why this came about is boutonnieres. Pain points of boutonnieres in particular, I think for a lot of people, is the pinning of a boutonniere, as well as building it sometimes is a little fickle. One of the great solutions, and I'll try to remember to link the video, is our pocket square boutonniere. Now, my thing doesn't have a pocket, it has a pocket on there. Anyway, squirrel, hello. But the pocket boutonniere is a really great option, but I wanted to play around with some other ideas, and the one idea I had was hair clips. How could we take a hair clip so that you could easily just clip it on and have a beautiful boutonniere, no pins required, and maybe a little bit easier to build as well. That's what we're going to attempt today. The other material you're going to need, I'm going to be using felt. It might work better with cardboard, potentially, like we do with the pocket boutonnieres. I'm not sure. I won't know until we're done if we need to tweak this a little bit more. But for today, we're going to work with some felt. I've already cut them out to the size that I think I'm going to need, and we'll walk you through my process and my thoughts on that, and then we'll get to decorating, and we'll test them out on this lovely vest, both this way and then this little pocket. We're going to go in a downward motion too. So I'm going to build one this way and one that way as far as the placement goes, and we're going to see how it does. I also think these would be really cute for those in your wedding or for prom who are wearing suspenders, to be able to put it on the suspender instead of pinning something on there. And that would be a solution if you don't have a pocket to put a pocket square in. You do have something to do a little clippy clip, if you will. No pins and no poked fingers required. So I think for all of us, we're hoping this works. Okay, let's try it out. And the size of the felt that you're going to need is going to be dependent on what your clip is. Now I have these clips that already have ribbons around them. These I found, I believe, on Amazon, but you can find them all over the place. Amazon, Etsy, different craft stores. And so I'm kind of going to go a similar idea of how this was wrapped. So you could do this with one of those metal clips that isn't already wrapped. This is what I had on hand. The other thing I have is one of these fun little clippies. Now this is a little bit of a larger one. I couldn't find my smaller ones. So again, we're going to work with what we have. And this is also just slightly bigger than this other clip. So what I did to figure out how I want to cut it is I wrapped it like so. So I brought it all the way under the clip, and then we're going to glue it as well to the end of the little clippy, because I want to still be able to clip it easily and know where my fingers need to go in order to clip. Okay, so same thing with this one. Open that up. I'm going to slide that up in there, and then we'll also glue around. So then we have that one. And with this one, I actually debated if we wanted to, actually I might do it that way instead, and I'm not going to wrap it. I'm just going to put the glue there. So we're going to do that. One thing to note, especially when you're working with, if you're going to work with hot glue, which I am, but you could also do this with E6000, you just need to let it sit and cure. I ain't got time for that. So hot glue it's going to be, but remember, metal, hot stuff burns your fingers. So please be careful if you're going to use hot glue. This one I'm not as worried about because I've already got a buffer on it. So, all right, I'm going to glue these, and then we will see how that all goes. I'm whispering to myself this entire time, don't get overconfident. Don't get overconfident. But I think this is gonna work. So here is the one with the little fabric already on it. I glued it underneath as well as on top, and then I trimmed it down to size. Now the one thing to note when it comes to making boutonnieres and things like that, you don't need a lot of space. You just need enough space that you can put a little bit of glue to attach any of the greenery, fillers, and flowers. A little bit goes a long way. You can shove a lot of stuff on a small little square footage of property. I say that too when it comes to floral foam. You can get a lot done. I could probably trim this down even more because the more space you have, the more you have to fill it up, and then it gets heavier. So you don't need a ton. But there is my thought on this. I am going to be mindful when we start putting on all of our stuff that I need to be able to let my finger go just in that spot. We can cover it this way and things like that, but we're not going to glue something directly there so that we can't, adjust this. And then the one that I'm going to do downward is a little bit bigger. And there's nothing I can do about, and I glued it crooked. I glued it crooked. I might trim it one more time. This way I trimmed it a little bit, but I think I'm going to trim it one more time so that it's a little bit skinnier, because this one is going to go like this. And that's a lot to cover if you want something on coverage. But it could also be really fun to be able to make this a statement piece, especially for like proms and things like that. Maybe instead of having a corsage, you have something like that. Ooh, I like that idea. And then having a full like bam kind of piece instead of. So do we do the bam? I wasn't going to, but now I might. Okay, we're gonna do an over the top one. Just know that you can make it more demure. Your girl is not demure when it comes to these projects. What's the opposite? I say extra, but you all could give me a new descriptor. But for this one, we will be demure. We'll do a single flower, some filler to fill that in. And yeah, that's the plan for right now. I'll let you know if it changes as we start creating. But we'll work on the little one first, and I will keep thinking about the big guy as we're creating. Let's see if this is gonna work, but I kind of need myself a visual of like, Stephanie, don't glue something there. So I'm just gonna put something there so I remind myself. No gluing where that little piece of tape is. And let's try to cover that area but not be too crazy. So I think for this, I've got some of these fillers, just bits and bobs from years past of different fillers and greenery we've offered at Oh You're Lovely. And I'm pulling apart some sprigs of stuff too. Here's the flower that I want to work with. Now I'm going large and in charge with the flower in particular, which also means I have less that I have to fill in. That almost covers most of the space, right? And then I'm just going to have a little bit of the fillers kind of peeking. I'm going to keep them peeking upright. Now the other thing to note, okay, this is going to be, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure, what's the way, so this is going to be my top, okay? So I'm going to flip that around. So I'm doing it the way I want the top to be. And I'm just going to play around with figuring out which pieces of filler and greenery I want. I'm going to lay the filler down first and then glue the greenery or the flower last. With this in particular, that one has a little bit of a little nub, a little tail on there. We're going to clip that off. You can do that with these wood flowers. The one thing to note is they're all held together by string. So you want to be mindful of where the string is. The string isn't up here, so we're good to go. But if you go too low, or say the string was kind of somewhere in the middle here and I cut below the string line, your flower is going to fall apart. So don't do that. But you can cut it so that there's a little bit of a flatter base for when you're gluing. While I'm gluing these things, let's talk about how to pick out the right style flower when it comes to a boutonniere. And these are my hot takes. Do with this information what you will. I'm also going to cut these pieces of greenery. When it comes to picking out the flowers, what I would suggest doing is looking at the type of style flower petals there are, and also if you're dyeing your flowers to have color, I would definitely suggest putting glycerin in the mix. The glycerin helps soften up the flowers because sometimes the flowers will get a little crunchy with just dyeing it straight paint, especially if you use a heavier amount of paint to water. If you're doing more of a watercolor wash or airbrushing the flowers, you have a less chance of it getting super crunchy. There's always that chance. And when I say crunchy, they're a little bit more brittle and easier to kind of chip off a petal by Grandma Martha giving you a big old squeeze. So pick flowers that have softer kind of petal edges. For example, I probably wouldn't do something like this because, well, maybe you could get away with this one. There's just a few that are like a better chance of they're a little bit sturdier, but when put upon pressure are less to bend, I guess is a way to explain it. Some of the bark ones in particular aren't going to move no matter what. A good example of that would be something like this. That is not going to move or groove in any way. Aunt Martha can do her best to give you the biggest hug possible, and those flowers are going to be just fine. But some of the others, there is a chance that they could crack or break off a petal depending on how tight the hug is. Sometimes the daisies, as much as I love them, those little petals, there's lots and lots of little petals, you may have some fluff off. I'm okay with the fluff off. If you're not okay with the fluff off, I would probably stay away from like daisies when it comes to a boutonniere in particular. With bouquets and things, you're not going to have those kind of issues. It's more about the contact and the force of the contact as to whether it's going to work or not for that application. So there are my 2 thoughts on that. And now I'm going to continue adding my little filler bits. I feel like we need to add another color in here. We're pretty bland. And I want a little more height on this, just a tinge. So I'm going to keep working on it. We'll speed this up and we'll see what we come up with. For this, we're going to do a generous amount of glue onto the flower itself so that there is no question that it's not getting a full contact of lots of different places in terms of where that flower is going to just sit on our little clippy. Okay, let it dry. Moment of truth for this one. I think that's looking pretty cute. Having that little reminder of where not to put it though is perfect. But in there, lovely. I think I don't have suspenders right now. Well, I could go. Should we do an outfit? We're not going to do an outfit change. I'm extra, but I ain't that extra. We're not doing an outfit change, but I think this would work perfectly for a, what was I saying? Suspenders. Let's see, just out of curiosity. How cute is that on a pocket too? Wait, hold on. Camera angle. Well, I'll be. Look how cute that is. And I put it in the downward motion instead of on the side. I mean, you could come too, but the other direction too. And have it not close to you and have it go out that way. I don't like that though, as much. I feel like I'm rubbing up against that, so I do like having it this way instead. Okay, first one, success. Are we in agreement? I think so. I also, ooh, hello. Because a girl can't not try it. As a cute little hair fastener. Also, hold on. Also a success, I think. If I'm gonna do it as a hair fastener, I think I would be more aware of placement of where I want it to go, especially I would have probably brought the flower, glued it differently. Multi-purpose, these little clippies. All right, on to the next one that I said was gonna be large and in charge, but this one turned out to be pretty large and in charge to begin with, so let's see how it goes. You gotta imagine that this is up here, not on my, but it works. I do have some thoughts though, as I put it onto my lapel as to why I might not do this one as much. My thought is with this, there's actually 2 points of contact to make this work. You have to open it up so that you're a little, and then you have to push this back down. So I was struggling a little bit to find the right spot to push it down, and I did kind of do a little number on the one part of the flower. So I don't know if I would use these or I would keep that in mind at the time of the application. I think the little alligator clip one is a little bit better for this type of application. But see, this is where, because we're up there and then we got to find the spot and then click it into place. It works. But I think this one works just a little bit better. Less fabric needs to be, less coverage, but still, like I said, you don't need a lot to make it large and in charge if that's what you want. You can also make it much more dainty and demure if you choose to do so. I'm just mindful that I like them large and in charge. So I think it worked. I think this is a new solution or another way to make boutonnieres, corsages, what have you. So that's fun. Yay. I love when it works out. All right, you guys, I hope you did enjoy that tutorial and the journey we took together and learned a couple different things. If you do give this a try, make sure to let us know. We love hearing success stories, and also if there's something you would change or do differently. I'm always open to those too, because y'all give me great ideas and I don't think you even realize it half the time. Also, if you aren't part of our group over on Facebook, we do have a very active community over on Facebook. So if you make one of these clippy little boutonnieres, share a picture over in the group page. We'd love to have you and cheer you on. It's just, I love it over there. I'm gonna start doing some like idea dumps and things like that too, because I can't keep all of this inspiration in my head and not share it with y'all. So we're gonna start doing that on a more frequent basis as well. And you get to also hang out with Maggie, the co-owner of Oh You're Lovely too, if you want to get to know her as well. The group page is a great place to do that. Also, while we're chatting about all the business stuff, if you haven't yet, we do carry over 150 different style wood flowers, craft supplies, greenery. It's all over at ohyourlovely.com. But before you go check it out, let me give you something as a thank you for going and taking a look. Use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off one regular priced order. Do the other fun YouTubey things like subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. We post up typically once a week, normally on Wednesdays, but every once in a while we flip-flop it on you. That all just depends. But once a week, I can promise you, once a week. And other than that, I will see you next week. I know I promised spooky stuff the last video. It's coming, I promise. I couldn't get this out of my head. I needed to try it. I think it would be amazing, like again, prom season, keep this in mind. I think it would make so much easier getting those boutonnieres or corsages on, and you can still boogie the night away. That just aged me right there. All right, guys, I will see you next time. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely. You, my friends, absolutely lovely. Gonna go boogie my way out of here.